Hey, this is Joanna. This is the final episode in my 4-part series around grief in the holidays. Navigating holiday firsts and supporting someone who's grieving were both released the first week of December, and creating your own meaningful rituals dropped last week. This week we're going to be diving a little more into handling the holidays, because when we're navigating grief or loss at this time of year, we need all the help we can get. I hope that these episodes will be helpful companions during what can be a challenging time of year for some. If you know someone who might find comfort in hearing them, I encourage you to and would be grateful if you shared these episodes with them. All right, let's just get down and dirty here. Even though the holidays are usually a beautiful time of year, if you're grieving a loss, whether that's the loss of someone you love or care about, or the loss of something else significant in your life, the holidays are not necessarily the most wonderful time of the year. The memories, the missing, the emotions, the spiritual stuff, if your loss has challenged your faith, the pressures and expectations, complicated family shit. Well, I could go on and on, right? It's never not complicated. The holidays can be challenging at the best of times and add grief, and it's often just brutal. And while there's no right or wrong way to do December or any other dates throughout the year that are emotionally meaningful, I always say your way is the right way. This week, I want to go a little deeper into what it means to navigate these times. Not just the logistics, although we'll talk a little bit more about that too, but also into some of the deeper layers, the sometimes complicated spiritual challenges we can face. The internal and external pressures, stuff around participating in rituals and traditions that we no longer feel connected to. The complicated emotions that can surface when we're feeling two things at the same time. And how to honor your needs and make space for faith and doubt, moments of joy mixed in with your sadness, and for giving yourself grace while you're trying to figure it all out. So let's dig into that. You know how life throws us curveballs? Nobody gets through this journey of life without a few storms. Welcome to Transformative Journeys. I'm your host, Joanna LaRue. Each week, I'll share my thoughts and insights and dig into strategies that can empower you to rediscover yourself, learn about transforming pain into power, building confidence to navigate life's challenges, and cultivating a life of meaning and joy. Join me on this journey of exploration and transformation. Welcome back to Transformative Journeys with Joanna. Still Joanna here, walking beside you again this week during a season that doesn't always feel so merry and bright. So this time of year, when the lights, the music, and the fact that it tends to be so steeped in traditions can be beautiful. It can also be painful, sometimes both at the same time. It can bring out feelings of warmth and meaning, spiritual connection, tradition, and it can also bring out sadness, grief, guilt, longing, anxiety, even anger, leaving us feeling just emotionally overwhelmed. So as we navigate our way through a month filled with emotional landmines, where what we really sometimes want to do is just go to sleep and wake up on the other side of the holidays, what I really wanted to do this month was to give you space where maybe you didn't have to feel so alone. I'm actually going to start with something a little different. And by different, I mean that although I don't usually get into spirituality. I'll leave those conversations to others. I did want to talk a little bit about how difficult the spiritual dissonance that we can experience if we're grieving at this time of year can be. And spiritual dissonance is the term for that internal conflict that we can feel when something has happened that makes us doubt our faith or our spiritual or religious beliefs, or when you're angry at your divine being or beings, by whatever name you call them. Some people draw immense comfort and meaning from their connections to a religious or spiritual belief systems. For others, it really doesn't take up much or any space in their life. And for some, their spiritual beliefs are what help them through difficult times. But if you've always leaned on your spiritual beliefs and a loss causes doubt, anger, or complete disconnection from something that used to hold great meaning for you, you can be left feeling hollow, struggling to find meaning, and even wrestling with guilt and shame. And if some of those traditions are associated in a meaningful way with who or what you're grieving, you might be adding pain into that equation too. For example, say you've always brought your children to midnight mass on Christmas Eve and one of them has passed away. It wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility that, along with the intense grief, you're feeling angry with your God for allowing your child to die, hollow because you've lost faith in a spirituality that used to provide meaning in your life, shame because faith is central to your spirituality and it's gone right now, guilt, again, because on top of everything else that's going to make this Christmas dreadful for you, you're not planning to take your family to the service this year because you just can't face going without the child that's no longer alive, and 50 or 100 other emotions from one minute to the next. And I guess what I want to do here is assure you that this is not at all uncommon. You aren't wrong for questioning. You're not a bad person for feeling let down by or angry at your spiritual center, whether you call it God, the divine, the universe. And you aren't less spiritual because you might be questioning right now. So if you're not feeling it this year, if you're struggling with that spiritual connection, especially if it's deeply connected to your usual holiday tradition or traditions or cultural practices, it's okay. And if you're just plain feeling kind of numb about it all, yeah, that's normal too. Grief doesn't just stop because it's time to pull out the holiday decorations. So if the spiritual parts of the season feel more like just one more insult to add to the injury, I want you to understand that whatever you choose to do or not to do in order to maintain even a shred of sanity during the holidays, you're not doing things wrong. You're navigating a season that was probably pretty complex without adding grief into the mix. And that sort of segues kind of neatly into something else I wanted to talk about. What happens with the rituals and traditions that once brought us comfort, meaning, and joy when they now feel empty, heavy, or just plain friggin' unbearable? So first, let's do a really quick recap around rituals and traditions. And if you want to dig deeper into that piece, I have a whole conversation around it in the last episode. But rituals are acts we engage in with intention and purpose that are usually done to give meaning to something or mark something that matters to us. They can be simple things we do daily or weekly in a certain way that may or may not have meaning but are familiar, comfortable, and calming. Traditions are more about activities or ways of doing things that have been passed down to us, or we've created ourselves to add structure, comfort, or meaning to a holiday or a date. They can be anything from using something special that's been passed down through generations, like a christening dress or a wedding veil, to making a special meal or dessert for someone's birthday, or like I mentioned above, attending midnight services at your place of worship on Christmas Eve. They're typically planned ahead, and they fit in some part of the narrative of our lives. Rituals and traditions can be especially challenging during the holidays because they often have strong emotional associations. Now, add in the pressures and expectations of others, or us feeling like we need to uphold those traditions so we don't ruin things for other people that might conflict with how we're actually feeling, and the sort of disconnections that we talked about. Here, have a heaping helping of guilt to go along with your turkey and stuffing. There are any number of ways you can choose to approach all of this. You can choose to fix your I'm okay mask firmly in place and try to do things the way you've always done them before your loved one died, or the separation that tore your family apart, or whatever situation has turned your world upside down. You can do something completely different this year, or you can try to create something new that combines some of your old traditions that don't feel quite as painful or uncomfortable with new ones that honor your new situation and your emotional capacity right now. And I've tried all three with successes and failures in each one of those approaches. The first Christmas after my son died, it was almost a year later, and I was past the numb stage. Still crying almost every day, although I'd at least figured out how to schedule my crying to try to lessen the impact it was having on my 14-year-old daughter. Literally feeling sick about our upcoming first Christmas without him. And for some reason, I was determined that we were going to maintain as many of our traditions as we could. The exception was that I was not going to host the big family Christmas that year. And even though it was offered, we were not going to attend a big family Christmas anywhere. We were going to do this first Christmas with just the four of us, the kid's dad, my daughters, and me. So I think I've mentioned it before, but I did all of my shopping online. It was mostly Sears back then. There were a few online retailers, but Amazon didn't exist yet. I slapped my mask firmly in place, and my daughter and I put up the tree, decorated the house the first weekend of December. We did some holiday baking together. I wrapped the gifts, filled the stockings. My older daughter came home from the holidays. I made our traditional overnight cinnamon rolls on Christmas Eve for breakfast the next day. And on Christmas morning, we opened our gifts, cleaned up the wrapping paper. I stuffed the turkey, prepped the veggies, put the turkey in the oven, and then I locked myself in the bedroom and cried. And cried. Wrote a letter to my son, telling him how much I missed him, and cried a little more. Then I washed my face, put my mask back on. I'm sure I fooled everyone, right? Cooked the rest of the Christmas dinner, and we sat down to the table with the empty chair haunting all of us, and had Christmas dinner together. Was it great? No. Was it good? Yes and no. Did I get through it? I did. The second year, we had the brilliant idea that we were just going to sort of skip Christmas. We told everyone we were going away for Christmas that year. No tree, no baking, no presents, so don't buy us anything. No Christmas dinner. Some people understood, and some people were not very happy with our decision. But I decided that I was going to ignore Christmas as best I could. And we did, sort of. It didn't stop the lights and the music everywhere leading up to the holidays. My older daughter was living with her boyfriend and was staying home with him and his family for the holidays. So I felt, sad and guilty because she couldn't be with us. But I will admit to you that it took a lot of the pre-holiday stress and anxiety out of it for me. But, and this is a big, enormous but. The truth was that even over 2,000 kilometers away in Mexico, it was still there. And what I mean by it is that on Christmas morning, because yes, December 25th happens there too, my son was still gone. And we all felt it. Although I thought I was doing the right thing for all of us by doing something so different to escape from Christmas, I think I did my daughters a huge injustice that year. We still needed to be together, and we weren't. In spite of the novelty of the trip, the beautiful location, the excursions to distract us, my youngest daughter, who was with us on the trip, was miserable on Christmas Day. And so was I. I remember sitting on our balcony that evening watching the sun set over an unimaginably blue ocean and realizing that no matter what I did, where I went, what I did differently or the same for the rest of my life, my son was never going to spend Christmas or any other holiday with me again. And I wrote an article about it for Threads of Life's newsletter because that evening on a balcony in the Caribbean made such a huge impact on me. After that, I chose option number 3. For the remaining years that we were together as a family, I started to figure out how to create something new that combined some of our old traditions with new ones that honored our loss but made room for our emotional capacity from year to year. And the truth is that as families grow, change, and extend, traditions would have evolved regardless of whether my son was still with us or not. I'm no longer married to the kid's dad, and my daughters are both adults now with spouses of their own. My older daughter has kids of her own, and over the years we've had to coordinate alternating holidays with her in-laws. Now we have even more extended family with the addition of my husband's family into all of the arrangements. Life and change no more stop when there are no tragedies to interrupt the timeline than they do when something happens that turns our world upside down. If you're looking for some more practical support on your grief journey, I want you to go to my website and grab my free downloads, Insights for Navigating Grief and my Essential Grief Toolkit. I promise they are completely free, and you can get them on the Joanna's Toolboxes page at transformativejourneys.ca, and I'll also put a link down in the show notes. So here are a few more suggestions to help you face some of the things you might find challenging during the holiday season or around special dates or events. And for more suggestions, go ahead, go back, listen to the first part of episode 29 on navigating grief, gatherings, and expectations during the holidays. The first thing is, be honest with yourself and others. If you aren't up to the traditional big family get-together, let people know. Set boundaries and stick to them. Remember, no is a complete sentence. On the other hand, if the big holiday family dinner is a tradition that you don't want to be different, let them know that too. Maybe ask everyone what they'd like to do to honor the person that you'll all probably be grieving for, and take it one year at a time. What feels right this year may change next year, and again the year after. The second is to be prepared. Regardless of how you decide to approach the holidays or date, the same as always, completely different, somewhere in between, understand that all of the emotions might still be there. In fact, they're likely to be. Being aware of that, as well as preparing yourself for how you might deal with them, can make a big difference in how the overall day goes when it does get there. And I really suggest that you plan for a way to get some space from the togetherness if you need to, whether that's from immediate family, extended family, or friends. Even when you find that togetherness comforting, it can become overwhelming when you're already emotionally depleted and feeling like you're muddling through everything. So try to be aware of your limits and of your needs, and create a plan in advance to take breaks, recharge your batteries, have a good cry, and check in with yourself regularly. Not just at events or gatherings, all the time. It might sound a bit corny, but take moments often just to take a breath. Ask yourself how you're doing. Ask yourself what you need. Companion yourself and care for yourself, and listen to your needs. Maybe it's when you feel like the holiday music that comes out of almost every speaker on the continent has just become too much and you need to leave, even if that means abandoning your shopping cart in the middle of the aisle. Ask me how I know that. Maybe it's that the holiday cheer at the company Christmas party is just more than you can cope with, and you quietly put on your coat and head home. If you feel, you're worried that someone might notice and worry about you, pull someone you feel comfortable aside, let them know that it's time for you to go. People will understand. And last, go ahead and honor your loved one in a way that feels meaningful and comfortable to you. Maybe that's lighting a candle beside a photo of them. Maybe that's setting a space for them at the table. It might be making a favorite dish of theirs, whether it goes with your traditional holiday meal or not. Buy a gift in their memory and donate it to a charity. And one that I just learned about this year that I love is to hang their Christmas stocking and let everyone know that they're welcome to write notes or memories on slips of paper and leave them in the stocking. I'll say it again. There is no right or wrong way to get through the holidays or significant days. Keep or amend traditions that fit what feels right this year, and change them as often as you need to. And even when we do think we've done all the things, we've made a plan, we've set boundaries, we've adjusted traditions for this year or ever, the emotional roller coaster that we're on can catch us off guard sometimes. Grief never asks us for permission to fuck up our equilibrium, and it often gives us zero warning when it decides to do it. It's absolutely possible to feel two completely different things at exactly the same time. Laughing one minute and crying the next. Thinking about that empty chair at the table can provoke all kinds of emotions: sadness, anger, resentment, guilt, or maybe sweetness, gratitude, or the warmth of a joyful memory. And here's the truth. Two seemingly completely contradictory emotions can surface at the same time. and truly live together, because two emotions can coexist, and we need to allow ourselves to feel them both without guilt and definitely without self-reproach. Here's a little neuroscience break for those of you who are, expecting one from me. Your brain is actually wired to hold more than one emotional state at a time. Grief activates our limbic system, especially our amygdala, the part of our brain that's responsible for processing fear, emotional threat, pain. Feelings like joy, hope, and gratitude go on in another area of our brain, especially the prefrontal cortex, which is also the area where memory, connection, emotional regulation all happen. So when you're laughing at a memory 1 minute and you burst into tears the next, that's actually not confusing to your brain at all. It's just doing what it's designed to do. Hold two truths at the same time. It's messy. It's kind of a mini miracle if you think about it. And it's completely normal. Remember that most people do eventually enjoy the holidays again. Try to focus on that hope as much as you can right now. And one final thought, and this one's really important for me. Try to seek gratitude wherever you can. I know that the concept of gratitude is becoming almost cliche and trendy right now, but I cannot stress enough how critical it has been in my healing journey. The bottom line is that it works. Neuroscience has proven it. Clinical studies have shown that it works. Seeking moments or experiences of gratitude helps shift our focus back to some of the positive things that still exist in our lives, even when we're hurt and grieving, rather than just on the negative stuff. So now, if you have a notebook or paper handy, here are a few gentle reflection prompts for you to explore in your journal or on your next walk. Be especially compassionate with yourself with these ones, but ask, what's something I wish I could skip this season? And what emotion comes up when I say that out loud? What tradition, big or small, do I want to keep? Not for others, but because it brings something to me. In what ways am I feeling two things at the same time right now? Grief and gratitude, loneliness and love. If I could write myself a permission slip for this holiday season, what would it say? So I hope that these past 4 episodes have been a soft place to land if you're dealing with a loss or grief this holiday season. As we wrap up, I want you to remember whatever you need to do to help you survive a tough time of year, those are the things you need to do. Not what others suggest are best for you, not what I tell you you should try. Do or don't do what feels right for you. The holidays are going to hurt. That's an unfortunate reality. So wherever you're able to, stay true to yourself and your needs, even if that means you might have to disappoint others. No matter what this season means for you, please remember, there is no wrong way to do it. There is just your way. Make this season as comfortable for you and the people closest to you as you can. If this episode was a tougher one for you, I encourage you to give yourself a hug. Take a nice deep breath and allow yourself time to feel what you need to feel this season. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Come say hi to me on Instagram at transformativejourneys.joanna or visit my website. Say hi there. If you've got an idea you'd like to hear me talk about, leave me a message. You might just hear me talk about it in a future episode. And lastly, yes, once again, you know that hitting that subscribe button and tapping the bell or like whatever you have on the platform you listen on helps my show get noticed, right? So I will make you a deal. You tap it, and I will keep dropping the best of what's in my heart and soul so we can keep learning together. Until next time, this is Joanna reminding you that it doesn't matter if you fall. What matters is how well you bounce. This is Transformative Journeys. See you next time. Your support helps me keep creating free tools and honest conversations. Because let's be real, even when you love what you're doing, sometimes it takes a whole lot of metaphorical duct tape to hold it all together. If you'd like to toss a little love into the duct tape fund, you can now support the podcast at buymeacoffee.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. Just wanted to throw in a disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not replace the advice of a medical or mental health expert. I'm not a licensed counselor or a therapist, just a human with a mic and a story of growth and resilience. No degree, no fancy letters after my name. I'm a full-time student at the School of Hard Knocks, University of Life, where I figure I'll graduate when I take my last breath. In other words, I'm just Joanna, a fellow human being on my journey through this thing called life, and your concierge on this transformative journey.